As laughter echoed around the restaurant, my phone's screen lit up right when I was blowing out the candles on my birthday cake. My friends were raising their glasses, toasting to another year of my life. However, the instant I noticed his name, everything else seemed to fade into the background. I'm Chrissy, and at 39, I've received the most heartless message imaginable. Hey Chrissy, I just want to be honest. I've met someone younger, more attractive, and frankly, an upgrade. I've moved our money into my own account since I was mostly earning it anyway. No hard feelings. Enjoy your birthday. The words shone on my screen like a neon betrayal, a breath catching in my chest. Outwardly, I didn't react. No trembling hands, no sharp gasp, no tears welling up. If anyone at the table noticed a change, it was probably just the way I sat up a little straighter, my smile turning sharper. Congratulations, I typed back, a single word with no anger or desperation, just a calm retort. What Nathan didn't realize, what he failed to consider in his exaggerated self-confidence, was that I'd been observing for months. Nathan had always been conceited, charming with his confidence and smooth talk, but eventually, things began to change. The sudden late hours when no such commitments were needed, his phone perpetually face down, his dismissive attitude about future plans like it was naive to think we had one. Then there was the money. His payments became delayed, and he suddenly fussed over shared expenses when he used to cover dinners effortlessly. The final straw came when he suggested our shared savings move solely under his name, claiming, "It's just simpler that way. I manage money better. Babe, I'll make sure we're secure." I smiled and nodded, letting him believe he'd convinced me while that same afternoon, I opened a new account without draining ours completely, just small enough amounts over time that he wouldn't notice. On my birthday, I knew Nathan thought he had won, believing he'd left me with nothing. But he was due for a reality check. An hour after his text, a mutual friend buzzed my phone again with more news, saying Nathan had flaunted his new girlfriend on Instagram, captioned, "The glow-up is real, out with the old, in with the new." Clicking the link led me to a post showing Nathan in a lavish hotel suite with a woman who surely wasn't over 22, the same Melissa he insisted was only a friend. His friend's comments were merciless. "Okay, King, big upgrade. Damn, went from economy to first class." Although they assumed I'd be heartbroken, crying, they were wrong. I was waiting. Nathan assumed I'd react emotionally like others, but he underestimated me. He forgot who was on the apartment lease, whose card he'd exploited, and who really built our savings. While reading his messages and glancing at smug photos, I felt a grin spreading. Nathan had played his move, thinking he'd won with money and control, unaware he set himself up for his own spectacular downfall. Within hours, the first dominoes would topple, including my changing the locks at home. Nathan had no claim to an apartment he never bothered being legally attached to. The name Chrissy was on every official document, and Nathan had always relied on her to handle the paperwork. "Why bother with all that? You're much better at it than me," he'd mentioned when they moved in. This laziness was now costing Nathan dearly. When Chrissy called the landlord to change the locks, he had no issues. "You're the only one on the lease, Chrissy. You can do whatever you want," he had said. By midnight, Nathan was out of a home. At 1 a.m., Chrissy received Nathan's first message indicating reality was dawning on him. "Hey, super weird, but my key isn't working. Can you let me in?" Chrissy left it read, but without response. 15 minutes later, another message arrived. Chrissy, what's going on? I need to grab some of my stuff." She still remained silent because Nathan's belongings, including his expensive suits, watches, and sneakers, were already bagged and placed outside. When Nathan tried to re-enter his former life, he'd find himself locked out, staring at the trash bags holding his possessions. This was just the beginning. The next morning at 8 a.m., Chrissy called their bank to report fraudulent activity on their shared account. The customer service representative remained courteous yet firm, querying the nature of the fraud. Readying herself, Chrissy replied about unauthorized fund withdrawals, armed with text message evidence of Nathan's malicious actions. "Could you send those messages to our fraud department?" the rep asked. "Certainly," Chrissy responded and quickly dispatched the proof. By 9:30 a.m., Nathan's much-vaunted personal bank account, where he had transferred their funds, was under investigation and frozen. Right on time, a text from Nathan came in. "Chrissy, WTF did you do? My bank account's locked. I can't access anything." Chrissy leisurely enjoyed her morning coffee before replying. "How weird. Maybe you should call your bank." Imagining Nathan's shock, Chrissy relished the thought of him learning his account was frozen due to a fraud complaint and that the funds were far from secure. As reality set in, Nathan realized his plans were falling apart. Melissa's dream vacation was collapsing, exposing Chrissy's savvy rather than the foolishness Nathan assumed. Nathan had arranged a rental car for his getaway with Melissa, a convertible, naturally. Chrissy knew because she'd seen the confirmation on their shared iPad, with her credit card carelessly saved in the system. At 10 a.m., Chrissy made her second call. "Hi, I need to report an unauthorized transaction on my credit card." By noon, the rental was canceled, leaving Nathan and Melissa stranded. At exactly 12:17 p.m., Nathan called, and Chrissy let it go to voicemail. A minute later, another call came, then another, until Chrissy finally answered on the fifth attempt. "Chrissy, you've made your point, okay? My bank is frozen, my rental is canceled. My stuff is in trash bags outside the apartment, fix it," Nathan pleaded. Chrissy smiled, her coffee spoon twirling between her fingers. "Oh, Nathan, we haven't even begun." Nathan was unraveling, his desperation palpable. Yet Chrissy wasn't finished, nowhere near it. Revenge is complete only when the wrongdoer grasps the full magnitude of their actions. Chrissy ensured Nathan felt the consequences he summoned upon himself, unsuspecting of how meticulously Chrissy had laid the trap. Nathan's next misstep was booking a lavish hotel suite for himself and Melissa. A 5-star fantasy escape complete with ocean views and a private balcony, intended as the crowning jewel of his new life. But he'd skimmed the fine print, and when the money was funneled into his frozen account, the hotel charges plummeted. Arriving at 3 p.m. for a retreat they could no longer afford, Nathan and Melissa were dressed for a vacation that ceased to exist. How Chrissy wished she could see Nathan's face when informed, "I'm sorry, sir, your payment was declined, and your reservation has been released." Melissa's reaction must have been priceless, for 30 minutes later, Chrissy's phone buzzed once more. An unrecognized number appeared on my screen, yet its identity was no mystery to me. I picked up, maintaining a serene tone. "Hello." A pause ensued, followed by Melissa's voice, not Nathan's, her words laced with frustration. "Chrissy, listen, I get that things are strange between us, but..." She didn't finish. "Melissa," I interrupted, "how's the upgrade treating you?" The silence hung heavy for a moment, then a sharp exhale pierced the air. "I just need to know if there's anything we can do to repair this," Melissa confessed. Nathan, in his words, claimed I had frozen his account. A laugh escaped me. "Nathan said that, did he now? Did he happen to mention the part where he took what wasn't his, or how he abandoned me on my birthday like a coward?" Melissa inhaled sharply. I had no clue about that, all right? I cut her off again. "You just thought he was some misunderstood hero in need of saving, convinced he painted me as cold, controlling, unsupportive of his dreams." Her silence gave me the answers I already suspected. Melissa was beginning to realize she too had been deceived, albeit too late. Meanwhile, Nathan grappled with funding a hotel beyond his reach as the internet reveled in his premature announcement of better days. Comments piled up swiftly. "Too soon, bro. Imagine leaving your girl for an upgrade only to go broke overnight." Karma hit hard and fast. Even strangers were shredding his narrative. And then it unfolded, the turning point I was anticipating. At exactly 4:45 p.m., my phone buzzed. Nathan. This time, I indulged his call, relishing the urgency in his voice. "Chrissy, you need to stop this," he began, struggling to maintain a facade of calm. "Stop what, Nathan?" I retorted. "Did your boss call?" An attempt at a dry laugh told me I was right. Colleagues saw my Instagram post. "HR's involved now," he declared. His company enforced strict rules, prohibiting relationships among staff, and Melissa wasn't just another girl. She was his junior, sparking internal scrutiny. Nathan assumed he could intimidate me into complicity, oblivious to the irreversible position he'd placed himself in. I laid it bare. Nathan, understand this. You did this to yourself. Your deceit, your neglect. You lost the very moment you underestimated me. His breath quickened. I swear to God, Chrissy. No, Nathan. I countered firmly. You swear to yourself not to be this foolish again. If you'll excuse me, I have plans. Enjoy your better life. If it's still attainable. And with that, I ended the call. Despite multiple attempts, I refused to answer further. Nathan's carefully constructed world was imploding. No funds, no lodging, no transport, no home, and now, no job security. Yet, he wasn't ready to surrender quietly. He was the kind of guy who'd inflict chaos just to maintain the illusion of control, which led to his most reckless blunder yet. At 9 a.m. the following morning, a knock at my door woke me. Not a message, not another call, but a physical knock. Peering through the peephole, a familiar uniform met my gaze. Chrissy Walker? Queried the officer as I faced him. I maintained composure. Yes. How can I help? We have a report about stolen property. Nathan Carter claims you've unlawfully held onto his belongings, the officer relayed. I almost laughed. Really? He mentioned designer watches, a laptop, and some suits, the officer listed. Guiding him to the hallway, I revealed Nathan's bagged possessions, untouched. He can collect them any time, I stated plainly. The officer nodded, glancing at the bags. So, you haven't restricted his access to his property? Not at all, I confirmed. I've only restricted access to my life, my home, my finances. Hardly criminal, is it? With a knowing smile, he concluded, certainly not. Just a civil matter. We'll close this complaint. And just like that, Nathan's feeble attempt to leverage law enforcement fell flat. First misstep. 2 hours later, the phone buzzed anew, featuring a familiar caller ID, Melissa. Driven by curiosity, I picked up. Hello. I greeted, maintaining an even tone. Chrissy, I need the truth, Melissa implored, her frustration palpable. How much of this did you plan? Feigning confusion, I repeated my inquiry. Melissa, what exactly are you accusing me of? Oh, don't play dumb, she retorted. Nathan's broke, his job's at risk, his accounts are frozen, and now he's crashing at my place like some homeless ex-frat boy. This isn't mere bad luck. You've done something. I smiled, swirling my coffee. Melissa, let me ask you this. Did Nathan ever reveal why we shared that bank account? Silence. Did he ever share whose name is on the lease of the apartment or how he's used my credit cards for months? More silence, then softly, almost bitterly. No, he claimed you owed him that money, that you were controlling, never allowing him any independence. I chuckled shortly. So he convinced you that stealing from me was his way of reclaiming control? Classic Nathan. Melissa exhaled sharply. God, I was such an idiot. I didn't argue because, honestly, she kind of was. The final nail in Nathan's coffin came 3 days later when his company officially severed ties with him. Not just due to the scandalous workplace relationship, though that was grim enough, but because HR had scrutinized his expense reports. Turns out, Nathan had been reimbursing himself for fictitious business dinners, even charging hotel stays I hadn't yet uncovered. His hubris wasn't limited to his personal life. It was professional suicide, and now Nathan was left with nothing. The last time Nathan reached out to me was a week later. His name appeared on my screen, and instead of dismissing it, I answered. I wanted to hear it. Chrissy, he began, his voice hollow. You win. I didn't utter a word, letting the silence stretch between us. Nathan sighed and continued. I just don't get it. You didn't try to retaliate, didn't scream or fight. You just let everything unravel around me. Taking a deep breath, I finally replied, Nathan, you did this to yourself. I didn't have to battle you. I just watched you self-destruct. Silence, then quietly I messed up, huh? I smiled. Yeah, you did before hanging up. I blocked his number, never looking back. Nathan was gone, a ghost of my past. Yet, the ripples of his downfall continued to spread. Not that I cared. I had moved on. But Nathan was learning the hard way that when you build your life on lies and arrogance, nothing remains when it collapses. It wasn't long before word of Nathan's demise spread. His old friends turned on him at lightning speed. His colleagues had spotted the red flags even before his termination. And his family? Well, that took an intriguing turn when I received a text from an unexpected number one afternoon. It was Nathan's mother, Linda. I hesitated before opening it, but curiosity prevailed. Linda, Chrissy, I know you owe me nothing, but can we talk? I contemplated the message, then responded. Depends. Are you about to blame me for your son's life crumbling? Her reply was immediate. Linda, no, I just need to know the truth. He won't tell me anything, and I'm hearing fragmented stories. This was intriguing because if even his mother wasn't defending him anymore, Nathan's charm had truly expired. I agreed to meet her for coffee, not out of concern for Nathan, but to witness the extent of his self-inflicted damage. Upon entering the cafe, Linda looked weary, as though she'd aged 5 years in merely weeks. Thank you for meeting me, she said, absent-mindedly stirring her tea. I just need to understand how this happened. I shrugged. Your son overestimated himself. He thought he was untouchable, smarter than me. Linda sighed. He told us you were controlling, that you tried to ruin him. I laughed, shaking my head. What does controlling mean to Nathan, Linda? Because from what I see, it means not letting him get away with everything he wants. She didn't counter. In fact, she seemed guilty. We spoiled him, she admitted. We always bailed him out when he messed up. His dad and I thought we were helping, but now I see we only enabled him to think he'd never face real consequences. I sipped my coffee, letting her words settle. Then she asked the real question. Chrissy, is there any way back for him? I pondered this before speaking the only truth I knew, not until he understands that he is the problem. By her expression, I knew she had already grasped the answer. Over the following months, bits and pieces trickled in. Nathan moved back with his parents, reportedly under set conditions. No free money, no financial irresponsibility, and no more girlfriends using him as a mere stepping stone, which was quite ironic since Melissa broke up with him just a week following our last conversation. Apparently, being the next best thing wasn't as exciting when the funds dried up. Meanwhile, Nathan was struggling to rebuild his life from zero. I was thriving. I received a promotion, traveled the world, and started my own side hustle. For the first time in years, I felt completely liberated. No more waiting for someone else to mature, no more tiptoeing around issues, no more engaging in a game where the only option to win was to leave it altogether. Nearly a year later, I received a message request on social media. I almost ignored it until Nathan's name caught my attention. Curiosity piqued, I clicked on it. Nathan, hey, I know it's been a while. I just wanted to apologize. I really messed things up. I should have treated you right, and I don't expect anything from you, but I needed you to know that. I stared at the message for a while before deciding to delete it unanswered, because some apologies simply come too late. Nathan was now nothing but a distant memory, a lesson, a cautionary tale, a reminder of what I would never tolerate again. While he was still trying to scramble out of the pit he had dug, my life was on an upward trajectory. The best part was I didn't just survive his betrayal, I thrived because of it. A year had passed since that disastrous birthday, since Nathan's absurd message about upgrading his life at my expense. Yet, upon reflection of where we both ended up, it was obvious who had truly emerged victorious. This was my life now. My career had soared. The business I started had taken off. Turns out, eliminating a financial burden does wonders for your bank account. I found love anew, a mature and respectful relationship with someone who didn't need to belittle me to feel like a man. I traveled while Nathan remained in his parents' basement. I was savoring new cultures and cuisines and finally living for myself. I didn't need revenge. My success was testament enough. But life has its quirks in tying up loose ends. It happened at a mutual friend's wedding. I almost didn't attend, yet something signaled that it would be worthwhile. I was right. Upon entering, I spotted Nathan, slouched at a corner table nursing a cheap beer, a shadow of the man who once thought he was above me. His meticulously groomed hair now unkempt, his luxurious suits replaced by an ill-fitting shirt, his hallmark confidence shattered. I almost felt sympathy for him, almost until our eyes locked and I saw it. Regret, the kind that settles into your bones when you realize you've swapped gold for tinfoil. I offered a small, polite smile and turned back to my date, the handsome, successful man sitting beside me, who genuinely respected me and let Nathan witness me moving on. Later that night, Nathan mustered the courage to confront me. I saw him approach, yet feigned ignorance until he cleared his throat. "Chrissy, hey." I turned to him, offering a polite yet disinterested glance. "Nathan." He shifted awkwardly. "You look good." I smirked. "I know." His lips tightened into a thin line. "Guess you've heard about everything. My job, Melissa, all of it." I nodded. "Yep." He let out a short, bitter laugh. "Guess you're pretty satisfied with how things turned out, huh?" Tilting my head, contemplating my response, I replied, "No, Nathan, I don't think about you enough to care one way or the other." That was the truth. His face fell as he lamented, "I'm sorry, Chrissy, for everything. I wish I could undo it." I sighed, swirling my champagne. "You don't get it, do you?" He frowned. "Get what?" I smiled. "I don't need your apology. I never did. The moment you walked away, you set me free. And now," I gestured toward the incredible life I had created, "I have everything I ever wanted. And you, well, you have exactly what you deserve." His jaw clenched, yet he had nothing left to say because he knew, deep down, I was right. As I walked away, I felt lighter than ever before. Nathan had been a part of my past, but that's all he would ever be, a past mistake, a lesson learned. The irony was he once believed leaving me would mark his greatest triumph, but in reality, it was mine. I had won the only battle that mattered, to live well, love better, and never settle for mediocrity again.